So I'm going to come out the gate. I'm going to ask you, William, for our listeners right now, what don't somebody understand about spending 23 years in prison for something you had no idea what happened and you didn't have nothing to do with? What don't people understand about that when they hear it?
Well, Cogee, there's I don't know. It's really unexplainable because of the shock, the irony, and the experience all boiled up into one. It's an incredible experience. I like everyone else in society believes that the system works, that the system for the most part will convict the guilty and will exonerate the innocent, absolve the innocent. I thought that the jury system, for the most part, worked, and that justice would prevail. You know, this is everything. These are all the things that are taught to us as we're growing up as kids, and that's what for the most part is espoused by the government, that our jury system works. So I went into that whole process believing that the jury system was going to work,
right.
And I couldn't believe that I would one day be convicted of something that I didn't do.
William, I wanted to ask you now. This wrongful conviction didn't simply impact you. Okay, it also impacted upon your family. Why don't you share with the audience how it impacted your family? Get into some of that. I mean, you had a daughter, a brother, several brothers. Why don't you fill in all those gaps?
Well, the way it impacted my family was, my mom and my dad, we were very close-knit family from start. I was brought up and raised very close to my family. So when this conviction occurred, it impacted the whole family, devastatingly. My mom, my dad went right away scrambling, looking for an attorney to hire some attorney that was going to correct what was done. My brother, my brothers were all scrambling. Everyone was just out, trying to figure out a way of correcting this wrong. Now, I have a daughter that she was a year and a half old, and of course she didn't know, had no understanding of what life was going on in her life. Meanwhile, her dad got convicted of a crime he didn't commit. Upon release, she's now 25 years old. So I left her pretty much her entire grown-up life. She's been living without her dad. So she's been entirely without a father figure, someone helping her guide through life. My brothers, of course. I had a couple of brothers pass away during this 23 and a half years, which I'm only left with now one brother, and of course he's been dying to see his brother come home, so he can have at least a brother that he can call a brother living in society with him, as opposed to being incarcerated. My mom and dad now were both elderly and at 82 and 89 respectively. My father was a veteran, a wartime veteran, served 2 wars. He served over 20 years of active duty, and he's till this day, he's like dumbfounded by the way the system, the government actually convicted his son wrongfully, and after him spending all that time for the government, fighting for our country, and coming on, and now, finally, his son has been vindicated after 23 and a half years, so you know how he feels about that. So overall, the whole entire family's been devastated, but for the most part, they're now happy, of course, elated to have me back home.
Hey, we back, everybody. Welcome back to I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. That was Mr. William Lopez, man. Wow, it just hit me sitting here in this chair, listening to him right now. This is the homegoing show that me and Jeffrey are having for William. Wow, it just sent chills up my spine, because he was so full of life and he was looking forward to life. Now, let me go to Jeffrey real quick. Let me go to my partner, because they were really friends. They hung out, and that was the first person that Jeffrey and his organization freed from prison. Jeffrey, can you speak on it, please?
Yeah, which just as far as our friendship, or
You know what? Right now, you put it into your own words. I mean, y'all were really cool. You were really fighting, for him to have a great life out of prison. So, can you speak on that, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. My foundation played a role in helping to exonerate him, and then after that, we didn't just leave him like happens typically. He stayed in the foundation's apartment, for about 4 months, and then we helped transition him to his own apartment. Him and his, as you know, Cogee, you're released without nothing. So,
that's right.
I personally gave him the first and last month's rent so he could secure his own apartment. We shared a lot of wonderful moments together. From celebrating his release with a really nice chicken parmesan dinner with some shrimp and a glass of wine to, clothes. Bought him some new clothes, and you could see the change in his face as he removed the prison uniform, each item of clothing, and put on clothing from the outside. We were friends above and beyond that. He was over my house 3 or 4 times a week. He spent the holidays with me at my house with his wife. It's really no words for it. We used to speak to each other in a way that only exonerees could. Having gone through similar experiences, and you know what? More than anything, Cogee is he was down for the cause, man. All I had to do was tell him when, where, and what, and he was there. Whether he would do it or not was never a question. He always was willing to come and do a media interview or go to an advocacy event because it really bothered him that his life had been disrupted the way it was, and the fact that it was continuing to happen and that there's been no changes in the law to prevent it from happening. So that greatly troubled him and is what fueled a lot of the work he did.
Right. And Jeffrey, people don't understand, how devastating was this loss to not only his family, but, to you, knowing that y'all was fighting and y'all was trying to make a difference. And this is this is the first person that your organization, helped to get free. And then he passed away like that, so.
It was very devastating. I've gone through different stages from being, in shock and denial and not believing he's gone, to, being rather emotional and upset, and to go from both of those, vacillate back and forth from the two of those. It's devastating.
Yeah. And have you talked to his family, his
absolutely,
his mom and his daughter?
I've been with the I've been in touch with the family. In fact, his mother flew from Puerto Rico to participate in the wake and the funeral, and they were at my house, and of course I had to I was called from his wife at the hospital that she was hysterical actually, and the nurse got on the phone and said, "Could you please come down here and be with Miss Lopez?" And I said, "Sure, but is that be with her as while you guys work on her husband, or is it that her husband has passed?" And they said, "No, that's just to be with her. He's already passed." Yeah, I couldn't believe it, Cogee. I still can't believe it.
Wow. When Jay told me yesterday I was at a meeting and we all was having dinner, and the text said, "Can you get up from the table for a minute and call me? I got to tell you something about William Lopez. Jeffrey told me to tell you." So I'm sitting there with everybody, and everybody see the look on my face from when I look down at my phone. You know what I'm saying? Then I said, "Excuse me, I need to get up for a minute. So, I'll be right back." So I got up and walked outside. And when Jay told me that, I was it's like the world stopped. I was froze. And she was like, "Hello? Hello?" I'm like, "I'm over here." I'm like, "William Lopez?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you." Yeah. She's like, "Jeffrey's really messed up and he wanted us to know." And William, you know what, Jeffrey, this is what I thought about, and this is what I told everybody at the table when I went back to the table and told the people, you got to excuse me for a minute because I'm a little spaced out right now. We had a death in our family, our radio family, with one of our friends, but Jeffrey, he was so gung-ho to come back on the show. He was supposed to have been on today. You know that.
I know that he was, Cogee. I know, and there was an event on October 2nd that I was in the middle of finishing up arrangements on. He was going to come and speak at Rockland Community College because, I've just started being an adjunct professor there. I'm teaching a wrongful conviction class, and he was supposed to come to do a wrongful conviction event for the college as a whole. I was finishing up that. There were a couple of media inquiries that, I was, he had agreed to participate in, so he was going to be interviewed. So he was very much, there's a number of wrongful conviction events coming up in New York, and Bill was playing, roles in those public roles. So he was very much, in the fabric of our future, not only current life, but what we perceive to be, our future, and for that to just suddenly come to an end so unexpectedly. And Cogee, after only a year and a half of freedom, Cogee.
A year and a half after doing 23 years.
23 and a half years, yeah.
Jesus. I mean, it's so sad. It's so sad. Jeffrey, how's his wife taking it right now? I mean, she stuck with him through the long haul.
Yeah, his wife, Alice Lopez, did 19 years with him.
That's right.
As in going to visiting him, and they were married for that long, and
wow.
She kept his morale going, and the creature comforts of him getting a visit in person. And
that's right.
They used to participate in Family Reunion Program, which is a program that's peculiar to New York, but basically a visitor could come up on a Friday, and they'd go home like early Sunday morning, and they stay like on a trailer that's located on the prison ground. So you're allowed to cook, and they have TV and radio, and you can try to pretend you have a normal life for a couple of
right.
for that short period. But she's hysterical, though. She's hysterical. The brother is in shock and disbelief also.
And his daughter?
His daughter is. His daughter is stunned also, because not only is the unexpected aspect of it, but also that her mother had passed. So both the father and mother had passed within the same 6 months. Bill was trying to put the relationship back
right.
with together with his daughter. He had visited her with her once, but had been in frequent phone contact and doing text messages and some phone calls, but as someone on the outside, though, I mean, the fact that he didn't get to spend a lot of time with her in person, that it bothers me. It's part of the cruel ironies of life, of the way that this is played out.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. You just never know. You just never know. Well, what I want to do, Jeffrey, I'm going to take a break right now. And me and you, we definitely going to dedicate, this song, to William Lopez. And, William, we just want him to know. He know what makes me feel good, Jeffrey? He know how much we loved him on this show and off the show.
Oh, absolutely. Cogee, he had there were many different times we took like a minute or two, and he'd say, wow, Jeff, this Cogee, he's really into all this, bro, and that's really impressive.
That's right.
Considering that, he personally has never been wrongfully convicted, and, to the best of our knowledge, nobody in his family is, but, he's just as passionate about this as people who have been affected, and, so he was he really looked at you very fondly, Cogee.
You know what? And the feeling's mutual here. And you know how, we would talk off the air, with him, me and him, and I would definitely let him know that I have his support no matter what he needs. Whenever, he's got petitions or whatever he want to talk about, or if he's going through that mental breakdown, Jeffrey, like you said a minute ago, he was very unhappy that things hadn't changed while he was out, and he was trying to make a difference. But when that monster start messing with him, I wanted him to come on the air and release it and talk and let everybody know how he feels. You know what I'm saying? To let everybody know this is real. This man spent 23 and a half years in prison for something he didn't do. And then he gets out, and then he only gets, a year and a half to be out and be around his... And you know what? Let me say this real quick, Jeffrey. His mom gave him a vow, right, that she wouldn't pass away or nothing until he came home. Am I right or wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. And then he passed away before his mom.
Very ironic. Yeah, I mean, it usually happens the other way. Right?
I know you're right about that, man. And my heart and my blessings go out to his mom, because not only did she lose him to the belly of the beast, but now he's gone home.
Yeah, and just 3 months ago, she lost her husband as well.
Oh, right. His father passed away. You're right about that.
So really, the golden, the last 25 years, he was a minimal of interaction with his father, and certainly not the interaction with his mother that he would have had he'd been free.
Right, right. So they say those waves come in threes.
Those waves come in three?
Yeah, they say those waves of death come in threes with families. Usually when it start happening like that. Well, that's an old saying that I've always heard from a little boy, But it's like with my father, then his brother passed away, then another one of our family members passed away. I mean, it all was boom, 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 like a domino, And then, another one of my friends, his mom passed away just like my grandmother did. She had a massive heart attack and fell out face first in front of the whole family at a family reunion and died right on impact.
Oh, my God.
And then his uncle died. So, I mean, it's just, I think right now, that's why we having a home-going show for William Lopez right now, because we all respect each other. Sometimes we all might have a disagreement on something, but we get by it because we know that's what we should do, because we trying to make a difference in the world. And, I feel like everybody that's on this phone with me, and even, everybody that I work with, anybody that I interact with, I feel like once we have a conversation, I'm willing to try to get by anything. I ain't trying to hold a grudge. I ain't trying to be enemies. I'm trying to definitely be a brick in the wall to peace. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And with, one thing his passing has, crystallized in my mind, like at the end of the day, Cogee, all the petty arguments or disagreements or different opinions or different methodologies, and at the end of the day, none of that stuff matters, really.
You're right about that. You're definitely right about that. But you know what, Jeffrey? Let's go there, because right now, this interview, you can tell the story better than me. You can tell. Now, I'm going to set you up for some real good questions and answers. What was some of his fears, and what did he go through even though he was out? Because I'm sure to a certain extent, he was still a little mentally institutionalized. Do you get what I'm saying? Through the 23 and a half years. What are some of the things that he talked to you about personally that he was still dealing with being free after all that time?
First and foremost, he literally was afraid of going back to prison because, remember, his conviction was overturned and he was released when the district attorney of Brooklyn at the time was Charles Hines.
Right. And
Hines's office had appealed the ruling that released him. And, Bill was great. The circuit, the court that he appealed the decision to is infamous for ruling against defendants in any way, shape, form, or fashion that they possibly can. And so as the time wore on and the time to have the case actually argued and then from there getting a court decision, as that grew closer, the fear in his mind of his being returned back to prison grew more and more acute, and it was only when the new DA got in office, Ken Thompson, that finally the appeal was dropped. But even that didn't happen right away. I mean, it went all the way down to a week. It went all the way down to a week before the case was supposed to be argued.
Right. Wow.
That was a huge fear. That was a huge fear of his.
And you know what? So it almost was going to play out like Lorenzo's, like his situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and in terms of whether he was going to win the appeal or the prosecution was, I mean, in some ways that was like a flip of a coin in a way. That was like a 50-50. So it's a possibility you could have ended up like Lorenzo.
Right. But what did you think, Jeffrey? I mean, now, that it's over, but what, you didn't probably tell him that it looked like he could be going back, but what was your real thoughts that you didn't say to him about that situation?
I thought that it was like a 50-50, like it was a 50-50 proposition, but I didn't tell him that, I fought a multi-pronged battle, in the sense that, wrongful convictions was a hot topic in the news, especially out of Brooklyn, and using Bill's case, we helped insert that issue into the election cycle, and we wrote we wrote articles and we did press, and I even brought Bill with me to one of the debates between the challenger and the incumbent, and thinking on his feet, the candidate, seeing him there, actually had Bill stand up in front of the audience during the debate, and he asked the Charles Hines, will you please apologize to Mr. Lopez for your office wrongfully convicting him and his serving 23 and a half years in prison? And then when he refused, the guy said it again to him a second time with his voice even more loud. And Hines was beat based on that issue with other cases, not just Bill's, but certainly with Williams' case being a major factor. And I think that really, and I was hoping in my mind, well, if we can get him out of there, then because this is such a clear-cut, easy, wrongful, identifiable wrongful conviction case, then I don't think that the new prosecutor will appeal the decision. He'll be more objective. He doesn't have his heels dug in. It's clear that the man's innocent. I mean, the judge wrote such a lengthy opinion, and it worked. So it didn't come down to the legal arguments around the appeal.
Right. Okay.
And Bill was very happy. I mean, I actually had a fight with him some, to get involved in that race, because he was afraid to, because he felt that if he did that he'd be antagonizing the DA, and then they'd would really try to put him back in. Whereas if he didn't do that, then they might not. But it became clear really fast that no matter what Bill did, the old DA Charles Hines was going to try to put him back in no matter what. So in fact, we were there sitting at the event. I have a sign next to him, for the challenger, right? And I wanted him to hold it, and he was kind of hesitating to hold it, and finally, just wanting what was best for him, and getting a little bit angry with the way that brothers can. I said, look, man, he was not afraid to wrongfully convict you, and you served 23 and a half years. Are you going to be afraid now to fight back by holding the sign? Mm-hmm. Are you too chicken? Expletive? And he said, no, not too chicken to hold that sign. He grabbed the damn sign and held it. And it was right at that moment that right at that moment when he did, that was when he was asked to rise to his feet, and the apology being demanded. So that was one of the great moments, and really Bill appreciated that so much afterwards.
Wow.
That was great.
That's right. What would you like to say, Foxy?
That was really great. That was. But I didn't know about Mr. Lopez. I just read about him in the paper, and I just wanted to give my condolences to him and his family, to his wife, and to you too, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Peaches.
I'm glad that we have you, Jeffrey, on the show today. I'm glad you're here. I know you're doing the best you can under the circumstances, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm really happy that the focal point of the show, we're having the Going Home tribute. It's very nice to be able to have this.
Oh, well, yeah. You know what? Cogee, I know your heart, and I know it means so much to you to do right by people, right by others that were good human beings walking this earth, and honor them, because so many loved ones, including your father, were not given a homegoing that was honorable to who they were as a human being.
Right.
And I know that this was very important to you. As soon as you found the news, you said, well, my show's changing now. We're going to be dedicating our time to Mr. Lopez. And, he was a great person who came through our show. And when he spoke, and you could hear his love, and I remember how excited he was to go see his family. Mm-hmm. We got to speak to him right before he went on his trip, and it's just so sad that he had to live most of his life behind bars.
That's right.
And I really have a lot of compassion for you, Cogee, and you, Jeffrey, because this is someone who personally affected your guys' lives, and I'm thankful that we have the ability to do this.
That's right. Thank you. And you know what? I really feel like, man, we got a comrade gone. It was an allied. Now we one allied short. You know what I'm saying? But you see what I'm saying? Even though we one allied short, but you see what happened with Mr. Charles Belk. So then another ally come up. You get what I'm trying to say? Like the injustice, it ain't stopped. That's the point I'm making. You know, William was he wanted. I just wish he could have seen a brighter day. He could have, you know, went away from here knowing, okay, I got work in place, and Jeffrey and Cogee and them, they'll finish it out. Do you feel like he felt that way, Jeffrey? Or was it very incomplete on his end? He felt.
Well, he did, as far as I can tell. I mean, this was unexpected on his end, so it's not like, you know, somebody gets terrible news from a doctor. They only have a couple of days or weeks or months or a couple, you know, 1 or 2 years left to live. So it was unexpected on his end. But at the same time, there's no doubt in my mind that, you know, he expected that, you know, work would continue on this, you know, even after, you know, even after he passed away. I mean, that's just. I mean, I hope and expect, you know, I fully expect now as I talk to you on the show that, you know, work in this area will continue after I'm gone. So, you know, and he was aware that, you know, my intention was to, you know, make my foundation, the legacy to long survive me. And, you know, he had some cautious optimism that that's what would happen.
Right. You're right about
and he
that.
was more, you know, and he was, you know, he was a part of, you know, structure to make that happen. I mean, not just the foundation, but, you know, later on in the show we'll have, you know, one of William Lopez's friends, Bill Bastick, join us from an organization that he'll mention. But there was a coalition organization, and William Lopez was very active in that as well. So again, these different structures that, you know, he participated in, that I had introduced him to, you know, the idea is we're working together, so it's not all just on one person. So I don't think that he ever viewed himself as the beginner or originator of any of the work, nor the only person working in the space. But instead, he was part of a collective, formal and informal team.
That's right. I hear you on that. And you know, like I said, the thing about that with William is, I mean, you know, like I said, I'll never forget his spirit. That's something I will never forget. He was like a little kid's first time at Disneyland when he came on his show. He was so happy, so upbeat. He was laughing. He was joking. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't bitter. Jeffrey, did you at any time see him bitter? How did he keep his, you know, his morale up after all that?
He wasn't angry. He wasn't angry or bitter. I mean, he wanted, and he said that a number of times, both publicly as well as privately. You know, he wanted to enjoy his life as much as he could, and he didn't feel like he could do that if he was, you know, angry or bitter. Right. He just wanted people to know the way that the system really is, you know, in the hopes that they could change that. And, you know, to the extent that he was upset about anything is just the difficulty in getting changes in the law to prevent this from happening. I mean, kind of like the plane crash analogy, right? If there was, you know, if 1 out of every 1,000 flights resulted in a crash, you know, do you think that, you know, do you think there would be big studies determining what was going wrong and some different changes happening to prevent it? Of course there would. But in contrast to that, in false accusations and wrongful convictions, there's not the same, you know, urgency or movement. And so, to that extent, that did bother him.
Wow.
You know, but I'd like to move into a phase for a second, Cogee, is, you know, in terms of, you know, William Lopez, just the man, kind of like you were talking about. I mean, joking and full of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to digress for a brief second and talk about some of the human experiences. I mean, I remember, Cogee, you know, I got a little smile on my face now, but I remember I had plans to go do something one night when the decision, the paper, he got the paperwork formally announcing that the new DA was, you know, dropping his appeal, and he said, "Look, Jeff, I know you don't really want to go to this thing you're going to tonight, but you kind of have to. But I just got my news. I just got the news. Look at this, man. Why don't you stay with me? Why don't you hang out with me? Let's celebrate. Yo, this is my exoneration day." And we went out to Sammy's restaurant, which is a famous restaurant in City Island here in the Bronx, and Cogee, I dropped $500 that night. I didn't care. we had a triple decker. We had a triple decker cold appetizers, and with mussels and shrimp and clams and squid, and if it existed and it swam, it was there on a tray. We had huge appetizers with lobster and other seafood, and he got this boyish smile on, and he got up from the table and was taking photographs of it with his cell phone, and he was laughing, and oh my God, it was priceless, Cogee.
Oh wow! Hey Jeffrey, how long did it take him to learn? I'm gonna tell you. Okay, since we're gonna talk about something funny with him, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep it, like I said, the good times and the good things about Mr. Lopez. Let's talk about the cell phone. How long it took him to get a hold of that? Remember, I joked with him about the pop-ups. Remember that show?
Oh my God! It took him a really long time to. It took him. I don't know the exact amount of time. Maybe you know that part of it, but I just know it took him a long time to learn how to use the functions of the cell phone. But once he learned how to surf the internet on the phone, and he learned how to text, I mean, he was like a serial texter in a sense that sometimes I felt secretly I felt annoyed, like, wow, man, just enough with the phone already. Be more present here. But then I would catch myself and think, but you know what? This is all new to him. He was in for so long, and if that's what it takes to make him happy, even though I'm sitting across the couch from him and there's a program on TV, I'm gonna just let him do what he's doing and be happy.
Right. And you know what? Now that it's sad that it's over, but he's gone. Are you glad that you backed up and just let him enjoy his moment?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Yes, I am.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yes, I am. I remember we went to Cogee. We went to an amusement park here in New York called Playland, and we went to this, tiki bar, and which you had a lot of seafood. But along the way, there was this big wooden sign, and it has like a pirate thing, but it has like a circle cut out where you're supposed to stick your face through it and take a picture like you're in the scene with like a tropical tree. And he saw it, Cogee, and stuck his face through there with a big smile, and we were taking pictures. And I remember I went with him kayaking. We went to a kayaking fundraising event for a mutual friend that had a tragic accident that left him paralyzed for the moment in a wheelchair, and we went kayaking, and the service provider donated the money for the kayaking to this guy, and William came to that with me, and seeing him on the kayak and paddling away, I mean that was something.
So you had a great time, huh?
Yeah. And we had. He used to joke around. He had a great sense of humor. Sometimes, Cogee, we would watch. He loved the show Shark Tank, and one of his dreams was to become an entrepreneur. When he got his compensation. So every now and then, so Shark Tank is basically a reality TV show where people who are in business with an idea and the different stages of development, and they're trying to get one of the celebrity, triple-digit millionaire or billionaires to invest in the idea, and so they all ask people. They ask the business person different questions to get a sense of where the business is and to decide if they want to invest or not. And every now and then you'd get somebody in there with one crazy idea or another, that was overvaluing their business, or it was a product so crazy as to be laughable. Other time, sometimes people would try to get the investors to put in like $500,000, and they got like 90 sales or less, and he would laugh at the ridiculousness of some of the people. He would laugh at the ridiculousness of some of the ideas.
You know what? Let me tell you. I know y'all shared some good times. You know what I'm saying? The good thing about it, it's that saying, when y'all was together, y'all didn't let no grass grow under y'all's feet. Y'all was always doing something or getting into something. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. From going to look, Cogee, we were crazy, right? One time I picked him up at 5:00 in the morning so we could catch a flight at 7:30. Right? I almost missed him because I kept calling his cell phone, but he forgot and had it on vibrate, and he was in another room while I was charging, so I almost missed him. But I scooped him up, and By the time we got to the airport, it was like around 5:45 in the morning, and then the next morning we were on the road in Florida at 5 in the morning, driving 2 hours to a TV studio to do 3 back-to-back interviews. But the shows had like a period of like 2 and 3 hours in between them, so we were actually sleeping in the car waiting between the second and third show. That's how tired we were.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so from that to going to the state capitol, driving the 2.5 hours, or going to Portland, or we were always, as he put it, you got another mission, Jeff? You're going on another wrongful conviction mission, man? Come on, I'm down with you. Where are we going? What are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
So you're right. We didn't let grass grow underneath us. And one of my fondest memories was going with him to Puerto Rico. As a matter of fact, we did one of the falsely accused shows with you while I was out there. But meeting his mother and his father, and they wanted to meet the person behind the foundation, that helped get him out. And that was such a meaningful thing. And I'm glad I did that and spent time with them out in Puerto Rico.
Wow. And y'all had a good time in Puerto Rico?
We had a good time in Puerto Rico, yeah. And, we had some things to look back and laugh on, too. Just crazy things like the highway system is different there than it is on the state side. There, if you miss it, here, if you miss an exit, generally speaking, you can just go to the next exit and double back around. Out there, if you miss an exit, in order for you to double back around and come back to where you were to then make the correct turn, that'll cost you like 40 minutes. So one time he got stressed out with me. We missed a turn. We missed 3 different turns. He said, Jeff, if you miss the turn one more time, just take me home. I'm done with this because this is ridiculous. We're killing the whole night on the road.
Hey, why didn't y'all go on and just turn it into sightseeing? Whatever y'all mission y'all was on, y'all should have just canceled it and said, okay, from here on out, we sightseeing.
But that was part of what we were doing was that part of what we were doing was sightseeing. And I remember we went to a couple of nightclubs in Puerto Rico, and the salsa music came on, and it was a totally young crowd. I mean, he looked like he was somebody's grandfather in there. He was the oldest guy in the club by far. But he didn't care, Cogee. He listened to the salsa music, and he danced by himself for a couple of hours, and he was having just to watch him have the time of his life doing that. And finally somebody went over to him and danced with him for a couple of times, and his face got even brighter than that. But he was a lover of life, though. He definitely loved life.
Wow. And you know what? You can tell that, with his conversation. But like I said, he also had a lot of great knowledge. Now, what I want to do, Jeff, I'm going to go to another clip right now. And after this clip, me and you will sum it up for everybody. And I'm going to come right to you. And you tell me what you heard in this clip. And, you break it down for everybody. All right?
Sounds good, Coach.
All right. We'll be right back. Take us back to the courtroom real quick when the judge said you're free to go.
Oh, well, it was, to be quite honest, after challenging the system for so long, it was like, wow. It was like it kept me. I was just dumbfounded. I really didn't understand it. It was just so much trauma. 23 and a half years of being denied appeals after appeals after appeals. And when that judge said those words, it was like, wow. Are you for real? It was like, God. But honestly, it was amazing. It was amazing, and to have Jeffrey in the background and in the audience there to support me and the foundation was huge. Being in prison, as anyone may know that was in prison, it's a very lonely and difficult place to be. Not too many people are out there helping. Once you're convicted, everyone views you as a guilty person. So to find people to support you, and it's incredibly difficult. So to have Jeffrey back there and give me the support and just there just to help me out with my reintegration back into society was huge. It was more. It was. I did. There's just no words to explain how important it is for a foundation like Jeffrey's to be available to those that are in need of of support at a critical stage like that, especially being exonerated. And the state doesn't. They tell you, well, hey, listen, you're free to leave, you're free to go, but they don't give you a Metro card. They don't give you anything. They just tell you take care, and they don't even say take care of anything. It's like you're on your own. So to have someone like Jeffrey and a foundation like that to support guys, I mean, it's so valuable, so valuable.
All right, we back. Welcome back to the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. This is part 23. Today's show is about Mr. William Lopez. We're giving him a going away, going home festival on the show right now. We're talking about the lives and times of Mr. William Lopez. So, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic, what did you think about that clip?
Well, I think that, it makes me feel kind of warm and fuzzy, to, again, hear his sentiments about how he felt about me and, the foundation and what we were doing, and as a reaffirmation, not just of the rightness of what I'm doing in general, but how it particularly made a difference to him.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. And like I said, he definitely broke it down, man. And, you were a ray of light to him. I talked to him personally a few times on the phone, and he was so thankful to have you in his life. And I mean, all the stuff that y'all said y'all done, man, I wish I was in the same city with y'all. We'd have been the Three Musketeers going to do
Absolutely, Cogee. I agree with you. You're right. You would have fit right in with us, Cogee, without a doubt.
But you know what, Jeffrey? One thing you didn't get to do. The plan was to bring William to Las Vegas.
That's true.
And he didn't make it. Didn't make it. But he's here with us in spirit. He's here right now. William's in the studio with me. He's right there on the phone with you. He's in our hearts, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, what I want to do, I definitely want to send, our prayers out to his family and, to his mom, Jeffrey, when you talk to his mom, what did his mom say? Did she say anything to you like, I waited for him all this time and, my baby's gone, this happened? I mean, how is she taking it?
She's a really strong woman that doesn't show a lot of emotions on the outside, but on the inside, it's killing her. She, how can I say? She really is just kind of shocked some herself, and this is a woman who her has lost her son and lost other children and her husband. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to be her, but she said one thing that was really, touching to me, and, she just looked at me and said, he loved you.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I'm telling you that, too, because like I told you, I done talked to him on the phone, a few times, and I know for a fact he was so very thankful for you. So very thankful for you and for me and what we do on this show, bringing it to life. But, like he said, Jeffrey, you gave him the will to hold on to when you was fighting for him while he was in jail, waiting to come out. You definitely was you and his wife, I mean, and mom and his family, y'all was the real support team, and y'all all should feel good. I mean, y'all all accomplished what y'all set out to do, and that's to free an innocent man, but to also keep loving him through his trials, letting him know that y'all knew he was innocent. But Jeffrey, we have a special guest on the line right now. His name is Bill, and he wants to talk about William. How you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing fine.
Welcome to the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show with me and Jeffrey Deskovic.
Thank you. And, it's been very interesting listening to your show today.
Thank you.
And earlier on, especially a couple of the callers who came in and really stressed how easy it could happen to you.
That's right.
And it could happen to anyone.
That's right.
And I myself was falsely accused, and that's not the focal point here today, though. This is to pay tribute to, William Lopez, who I had the opportunity to interact with briefly through Jeff Deskovic, who's on our advisory board. And I recall very distinctly first meeting William at our It Could Happen to You Justice Advocacy Group lobby day. in May of 2012, shortly after he was acquitted. And I'm like, my first reaction was, Jeff, where are you getting all these guys from? I mean, it's like, since I've known Jeff, he keeps introducing me to all these people who've been exonerated. And, he really is contacts nationwide with so many of those people.
Right.
But when I met William, he looked so relaxed and healthy that, I could never tell that he had served any time. Jeff just introduced me to him, and then he said, kind of like, by the way, William was just exonerated this past January, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I looked at him, and we talked a little bit about some of the judicial reforms we were working on, one of which is to establish a New York State Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct, which is modeled after the Commission on Judicial Conduct. And that afternoon on our agenda was a meeting with Senator DeFrancisco of Syracuse, who, as you know, chairs Senate Finance Committee, but also cares deeply about justice and justice reform. As a matter of fact, we're honoring him and Assemblyman Perry at our awards banquets on October 7th in Syracuse and on October 14th in Brooklyn. And at that October 14th event, we're going to pay a special tribute to William Lopez. But I brought him into the meeting with Senator DeFrancisco, and there were about 15 of us. And when we got to William Lopez, going around the table and introducing ourselves, he spoke so articulately about his case. And that happened because he said, I was just recently exonerated. And John DeFrancisco took a minute because he wanted to know what went wrong. And William Lopez defined what went wrong in his case. And in that sense, he was becoming a road warrior for us. And I don't know if you know this or not, but last session, the legislation to establish the commission sailed through Senate Judiciary, sailed through Assembly Codes, sailed through Assembly Judiciary, and I can tell you that the senator, one of the reasons why he took the bull by the horns, and as you know, he's a very influential and respected senator, was because of William Lopez's story. Mm-hmm. I mean, he sat there and he listened, and he had heard Jeff's story previously, and it's these true stories that are moving. What has been really a state legislature that hasn't been the most progressive on reform in the past. And then I can recall being at Jeff's apartment last December here on some other business related to discovery reform. And William was here, and I met his wife, and the Christmas tree was up. And I'll tell you, I had no idea that this man had these serious asthma problems. Because as I was telling Jeff this afternoon, and I'm here at his home now, is that he had the build and the energy. He could have been a tailback for the New York Giants. I just never would have thought that he was sick. But New York State prisons don't necessarily have the best air quality programs, and I got to believe, especially since I'm involved in the environmental area a bit too, and that obviously aggravated an existing condition.
Right.
23 years in that type of an environment, and there have been all sorts of studies done on indoor air quality in the buildings in New York.
Oh yeah,
which has led to a host of lawsuits by even who was it, the guy in Johnny Carson.
Right. But you know what? Hold on, Bill. Thank you. You know, you said some great, kind words. Hold on for 1 minute. We're coming down to short time, but I still want you to stay on the phone with us. Okay, Bill?
Sure, I will.
All right. Jeffrey.
Yes, Cogee.
I wanted to come to you real quick. How serious is it? We're just down to 1 minute, Jeffrey. I just need you to do this in 20 seconds.
Sure.
How important is it to talk about the air filters and all the, environment in prison, that it should be talked about?
It's critical because you know what, Cogee, even as amongst the advocates and the innocence movement, that's not, even just the people on prison reform level, they don't really talk about that. But, there's another case real quick where someone who was wrongfully convicted, proven innocent after they lost their life. They had an asthma condition and they died while in prison. So to me, it's a huge health issue, which is not on the radar. So it's critical that we talk about it because, frankly, no one else is.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we got to go into our go into our third hour, and we'll be right back. I want everybody to stay locked in and stay tuned in. This is Mr. Williams Lopez's homegoing celebration that we're having on the show today. We'll be right back. You're listening to the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. We'll be right back.